So that's labour market information. The second really important area in the UK that has revolutionised the way in which qualifications are developed and people have improved their skills relates to occupational standards. National occupational standards, we call them. And what they are is simply a series of statements that identify what it is that somebody needs to know, what it is that somebody needs to be able to do and understand in order to carry out their work. Now, I've been involved in developing these standards myself, a different industry, but I have been involved in them. And I can tell you, it's really boring. But when I say it's boring, it's incredibly important. Because if you know exactly what it is that a person needs to know and do on a really bad day, we can all do it on a good day, on a bad day, then you're in a position where you can develop qualifications based on those standards that are really effective. They are used for other work as well. You can measure staff competence with them. You can review roles. You can even interview people based on the standards to find out how much they know if you're looking to employ them. But the main reason is to identify what it is somebody needs to know and do. And we'd always say on a bad day. But occupational standards lead to qualifications. And you can develop different qualifications based on those standards. But it means that it doesn't matter where you are, and if you have a state or regional system that changes from state to state, if you have a national standard, your qualifications can reflect that standard. And you have some equivalence between states and indeed between companies as well, which is really useful. And then we have, as many of you will be aware, apprenticeships. This is a slide put out by the government. But the reason I put it up for you is that there are lots of figures on there that you can look at. But the one that is really important from a government point of view is in the second row, where it says that for every £1 the government invests, £28 comes back in improved productivity. That's the crucial part. So even if that figure is exaggerated a little, it's still impressive that good training, good apprenticeships are an important way forward to ensure that young people particularly, but older people as well take apprenticeships, can benefit from the program. So our latest apprenticeship programs are designed by the employers, with help from education, with help from government, but designed by employers. They're based on standards which are clear and concise and brief. They have a minimum length for apprenticeships, which varies from industry to industry, but they must have a minimum length because you can learn everything very quickly. Some people learn the background very quickly, but nonetheless, you have to have the experience of a bad day. You know, what do you do then? How do you cope? So that's very important. There's an end test with apprenticeships. So even though you've served your time, you think you've amassed all the knowledge, you still have to have an end assessment. And they're graded. So you don't just pass or fail. You have a grade to say how well you've passed or failed. And that's a new thing. So this gives us a clear cycle for working on qualifications, as you can see on the slide. From labour market information, I talked about that, to occupational standards, to qualifications, to working back with employers, then to delivering training with your partners in education, at all levels in education, all levels. And then back to revising the LMI and going round in that circle all over again. And finally, for employers, you see a similar cycle, identifying skills needs for an employer. You can benchmark your workforce against what are international standards. And hopefully, and our ambition is always to go beyond the international standards, understand skills requirements, to ensure quality training, and deliver those programs that meet industry needs.